that time at this. This to me is bigger than Rocky. Another edition of Randy's Ringside. Me, Randy G, all of you, Randy's Raiders, and the voice, Marcello.
Good evening, Commissioner Gordon.
There it is, just coming out of the air. As I get going here, I know that the Met game is on. When I left the house before it was 0-0 with Jake DeGrom on the mound. Do you have, and I don't know at this point, is there any score yet in that game?
Which game are you asking about, Randy?
The Mets against the Cubs.
The Mets against the Cubs. Well, let's take a look.
Take a look. And then I'll get going.
I don't have anything yet. I've got Yankees, Red Sox. I've got Montreal, Chicago. Hold on. Let me go to MLB here for a second. Today, Mets. 3-2. 3-0 Cubs.
What?
3-0 Cubs. That's what I got. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going home. Bye, everybody.
Well, good evening, Commish.
Jake DeGrom has given up 3 early runs. Well, you know what? That puts me almost in the mood to do what I have to do today then.
What's that?
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
Because, you see, yesterday, I put up a photo on my Facebook page of the great Vasiliy Lomachenko. Yes, that Vasyl Lomachenko. 396 amateur victories, 1 defeat, 2 Olympic gold medals. And that 1 defeat came when Lomachenko was sick. He had to chase the guy around to get a rematch. And when he did get the rematch against a very talented European fighter, Lomachenko beat him easily. That Lomachenko is the one whose picture I put up. Let me keep going here. It was the Lomachenko who came out of the amateurs and said that he wanted to fight nothing but champions, top contenders, and top prospects. That Lomachenko. He didn't want guys with 0-2 records or a 3-3 or anything like that. No. He wanted undefeated fighters. He wanted world champions. He wanted to fight for a title. The Lomachenko who actually signed with Top Rank, and he told Bob Arum that he wanted to fight for the championship in his very first fight. That Lomachenko. Well, the Lomachenko who in his 4th fight beat 24-0 Gary Russell Jr. That Lomachenko. The Lomachenko who had to wait until his 2nd fight to challenge for the title. And when he did, the champ came in way overweight, and then he even cheated throughout that contest. Cheated his way, wound up beating Lomachenko on a decision, but had it gone 1 more round, Lomachenko, I am sure, would have knocked him out. That Lomachenko. The Lomachenko who has now won 3 divisional titles. That Lomachenko. The Lomachenko who forced 4 world-class fighters in a row to surrender. Quit because they were being so outclassed. Nicholas Walters, Jason Sosa, Miguel Mariaga, and Guillermo Rigondeaux, the great Cuban, who, just like Lomachenko, had won a pair of Olympic gold medals. Yeah, that Lomachenko. Well, yesterday I put up that photo, and many of you made your comments on Lomachenko that they love watching him fight. He's 16-2. The only 2 losses I mentioned, his pro debut, and then a few fights ago, he fought with an injured shoulder against undefeated powerhouse Teofimo Lopez. Lopez outpointed him, took his championship. About 2 days later, Lomachenko underwent major reconstruction surgery. He rehabbed it, and he has come back with a couple victories in a row, looking faster than ever. That Lomachenko. Well, I'm saying this because the photo that I put up of me and Lomachenko and saying how great he is, I'm not even calling him a Randy's Raider because he's not. He's somebody who jumped on Facebook and made a mean-spirited, totally wrong comment about Lomachenko. Said he is the most overrated fighter in the world. Now, I remove on my Facebook what I want to remove, and I rarely remove anything, but I think you guys know me. I remove mean-spirited posts. I remove political nut jobs. I don't care which way you believe, even if you believe in the same party and candidate as I do. But if you bash the other one just with mean spirit and hate in your soul, and you can hear it pouring out of you in your texts, I'm going to remove you. So I remove mean-spirited posts. I remove political nut jobs. I remove religious fanatics. But I will tell you, and you guys have been Facebook friends with me for the longest time, you know that I allow nut jobs and their silly remarks to stay on as long as they don't get, let's say, out of control. I don't want to see cursing on there and things like that. Remember, I got grandkids who read GPA's Facebook. I don't want it on my page. But this Tom Negrily, whoever the heck he is, I'm not going to ban him. But I dare him to come back on because I know that all of you have to be feeling the same way. Maybe you don't feel that Lomachenko is pound for pound number 1. And right now, I don't think he is. I think guys like Inoue, definitely. Naoya Inoue might be number 1. I think that Alexander Usyk might be number 2, or flip-flop him, Usyk, Inoue. But somewhere in that top 10, every time you watch Lomachenko fight, you know you are watching a one-of-a-kind. We have not seen anybody like Lomachenko in our lifetime. We've heard about some of these guys. I've seen them on video. I heard the marvelous things that Willie Pep could do in his prime, that Sugar Ray Robinson could do in his prime as a welterweight. There's very little footage of him as a welterweight, only as he grew through welterweight to 154 and 160. And in those early days in the 40s, he was, I think, the best fighter of all time. But after that, there has been no real special fighter like Lomachenko. And I have been so lucky to have sat ringside for so many of his fights. And one of the reasons that I put his picture up yesterday is because it was announced that he is going to be fighting at Madison Square Garden. I am going to be there, ringside. And he's fighting an undefeated, yet another undefeated fighter, this time by the name of Jermaine Ortiz, out of the New England area. Jermaine Ortiz is the guy who a couple of months ago ended the career of Jamel Herring, the former 130-pound champion. Jermaine Ortiz can fight. Jermaine Ortiz has a nasty streak. Jermaine Ortiz can punch. Jermaine Ortiz is a real world-class fighter. But you know what? He's not in against, and this is no knock on Jamel Herring, who's a world-class fighter, and that shows you how good Jermaine Ortiz is. But the fact is, Lomachenko is not Jamel Herring or anybody else. I think that Jermaine Ortiz is a terrific fighter. And I look forward to being ringside, Madison Square Garden, October 29th, when Lomachenko does his thing once again. You know, it was last December that I was at his very last fight, and he fought Richard Comey, who is a world-class fighter, not the best out there, but a former champion, who can punch, who can box. I watched him train. I had never seen him looking faster, quicker, better defensively. I didn't think he was going to beat Lomachenko, but I thought he would give him a fight. It was never a fight. And as fast as Richard Comey is and was that night, Lomachenko showed me speed that I didn't even know he had. We at ringside, Jerry Cooney turned to me and said, "Did you know he was that fast?" All the writers around me were asking questions. How fast is this guy? He did whatever he wanted to do. And to read the remarks that were being put up there by all of you wonderful, knowledgeable boxing fans, and then to read this Thomas Negrily. That's okay. That's okay. He deserves that.
How did all these people get in here?
I don't know, but you know what? He deserves that. He deserves that. And I'm sure there's going to be more, because if somebody wants a reaction, then Thomas Negrily came to the right place, because I wasn't going to let that kind of remark sit there and let him call this great fighter, say that he is the most underrated fighter, or overrated fighter, rather. If anything, he's underrated. But to say that he's overrated, the most overrated fighter in the world, Negrily either just was doing it for strictly a reaction, and we almost have to hope so, because if he put it up there and really believes that, then this guy, who I've seen on Facebook before, I didn't know anything about him, but it definitely shows he knows nothing about the sport of boxing. And obviously, I think he said in one of his posts that he had been a fighter. I don't know if he was or he wasn't. But if he was, if he thinks Lomachenko is overrated with that incredible hand speed, offense, combinations, and that masterful defense that he has, Negrily probably, if he was fighting, his best defense was stopping a punch with his face. I mean, Marcello, what can I tell you? I mean, that's a great defense. You could block every shot you want with your face.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people who are actually very good at it.
And I have a feeling that Negrily was that type of fighter who was probably very good at blocking shots with his face, because by that post, he certainly doesn't know a thing about boxing. And I just wasn't going to leave it there, because, as I said before, I leave up posts. I very rarely have yanked people down. I have. I even banned people. I banned over 300 people during the elections, the presidential elections, which I know I'll be doing again, because everything that was said was turned by some political nut jobs on both sides of the fence. I didn't want to hear it. It's my Facebook page. You want to talk that way, put it on your Facebook page. Don't put it on mine. Don't respond to somebody who says that so-and-so is a terrific fighter, and then you come back and say, well, this politician is also a terrific fighter. And They did that. They did that.
Nice segue. They should work for the news.
And when they did that, Marcello, I said, enough. I'm not taking it. I did ban, again, several hundred people during those elections. And I think we're going to be free for the rest of this year and into next year. But then it's going to start again, and people are going to get banned because it's my Facebook page. I don't want to see it. I don't want to talk about politics. I want to use the two sites that I have. I want to use my Randy Commish Gordon to put up pictures of going out to dinner and their grandkids and being at the pool and being in the gym and stuff like that, and stuff at Sirius XM radio, whatever. And I want to use my Randy's Ringside to talk about boxing. I don't need nut jobs like this, and they're out there. And good for Thomas Negrily. This nut job actually got me to speak about him. Yeah. He deserves it. Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good. Yeah. You guys can hold it right there, because we'll give him one final, maybe we could do a hymn to Thomas Negrily, like a hymn.
I actually found, Randy, audio of Thomas Negrily, and when I found audio of his fans.
Did you?
Yeah, you want to hear the audio?
I don't know how.
All right, this is a recording of Thomas Negrily's fans.
Yeah. Oh, the crickets.
I had to do it.
I don't know where you got that, but this is why we're working together. You know how to dig and get into the internet and just find things.
That rare stuff.
Yeah. So
I think you spend way too much time on this guy, Randy.
I really do. He doesn't deserve to be on Randy's Ringside like that. But I wanted to do that because I just love Lomachenko. And I think what he's going through right now, both he and Alexander Usyk, they're Ukrainians. They have been on the front line. And just a few weeks ago, we saw Usyk leave the front line, get back into training, and beat Anthony Joshua. And now we're seeing Lomachenko back in the gym. He's going to fight, but we don't know what's going to happen still over in Ukraine. And again, I don't like the politics, but this goes beyond politics, because this is a war that has been started by this nutjob Putin. And I'm sure anybody will be banned instantly if they want to say that Putin is such a good guy and he had his reasons for doing it. Anybody says
just get arrested.
Banned.
You get arrested.
Who got arrested?
There apparently there are several equivalent of mayors in Russia that have been signing a petition.
Really?
For Putin to resign, and he just goes and arrests them. So if somebody speaks out, he just arrests them, and usually that either he does that or he poisons them or whatever. He's he used to be. Putin was a major player in the KGB during the Cold War,
right.
So he knows where a lot of bodies are buried, and he knows how to do things. He's a very scary individual.
Yes, he is, and we hope he doesn't get any scarier. Now, this weekend, there's going to be a fight that I hope it's so brutal that it's scary. And I think it could very well be the best of the three fights. It's going to be Canelo Alvarez in the trilogy fight against Triple G. Now, you remember their first fight turned into a draw. I was ringside for the fight. I had Triple G winning it like this. About a year later, in fact, I think it was exactly 1 day off from being 1 year, they went at it again. And again, I thought Triple G may have won by this much. So did a lot of members of the media. But it wasn't to be. One of the judges had it a draw. The other two had it, I think, 115 and 113 for Canelo. So he wins the fight. So, I mean, on my scorecard in both of them, I had Triple G winning. He could have been 2-0 instead of 0-1-1. Now they're going to go at it these years later, basically on the same date again, this coming Saturday. And we're going to spend the rest of this week, both here on Randy's Ringside, 8:30 p.m. every night, talking about the fight, breaking it down. Tomorrow, we'll break down Triple G. And then on Thursday, we'll break down Canelo Alvarez and talk about his amazing career. And tomorrow, the amazing career of Triple G. These are two guys who, when their careers are done, 3 years have gone by, they are going to be inducted, no question about it, into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. But Saturday is the fight. And then on Friday, we'll give you our picks for the fight. I got a question right now for all of you to ponder.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I wanted to know who you're throwing this question to, because we got a lot of your Randy's Raiders in the room tonight. We've got a couple familiar faces. We have got Paul Driscoll in the house. We've got Jake Wishaw, Farley Wald. Hey, Farley. J. Russell Peltz, who decided to say Lomachenko lost his second fight, not his pro debut. Very correct.
No, we didn't say he lost his pro debut.
Not his pro debut. It was his second fight, not his pro debut.
Right. It was his second fight.
Right.
And not ever going to argue with J. Russell Peltz. He's actually, we can playfully argue here. J. Russell Peltz is one of the best boxing people I've ever met in my life. A friend of mine. He's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He was a promoter par excellence. Still is very much in the business. Russell, in that second fight, Lomachenko, got to remember, he was coming out of the amateurs after 400 amateur fights. And he's only in his second fight, and he still had a lot of amateurs. This is the thing. He had the skills, but what Salido was doing to him was everything from the elbows and hitting him low and leaning on him and throwing him around. And the referee really wasn't doing anything to help. Well, the referee shouldn't help either guy out, but he should stop the dirty fighting. And the referee really didn't do that. And because Lomachenko was still over years and years of amateurs, and whenever something happens, you bow to the referee and this and that, and you don't fight dirty. Well, he was completely given a lesson in boxing, and in professional boxing, the dirty side of boxing. And I think he really learned from that. He picked up on everything. And I think if even a month later he would have fought Salido, he would have toyed with him and knocked him out. But yeah, he did lose that fight, and that was Lomachenko's first fight. And then it was only a fight or two later that he fought the undefeated Gary Russell Jr. It was a very close fight, but Gary Russell Jr., featherweight champion, who was 24-0, was really outclassed in that fight by this mere rookie. I'm saying that Lomachenko, and you know what's amazing, Russell? You worked with a fighter who I really thought maybe I put too much into him. I thought that your Tyrone Everett was that same kind of fighter. When I first saw Lomachenko, I had thoughts of that southpaw, that quick, elusive, fast southpaw by the name of Tyrone Everett, 130-pounder, who I was at ringside for in Philadelphia the night.
He died, didn't he?
Yeah.
He died in the ring.
No, he didn't die in the ring. He died of a gunshot.
Oh, yeah, his girlfriend killed him.
His girlfriend.
Yeah.
Bang, yeah.
Oh, I remember him, yeah.
He was unbelievable. He fought Tyrone. He fought Alfredo Escalera. And it was a fight that I was sitting with Harold Letterman for that fight, the late, great Harold Letterman. And my scorecard and Harold's a little bit different, but we each had Everett winning that fight. And yet the games were played, the political games were played, and Escalera wound up winning that fight. But I'm just talking about skills. And when I saw Lomachenko and I read all I had to read about him in his early fights, and I knew that this was his style, I watched how he trains. Nobody in the world trains like Lomachenko. I can't wait to be ringside at Madison Square Garden at the Hulu Theater once again, October 29th, when he fights again. But you could say what you want about Lomachenko, that you don't think he's worthy of being number 1 or 2 or 3, or maybe even in the top 10. That's fine.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, Randy, and say that I think you like Lomachenko.
I do. I love class.
Yeah.
And this guy's got class all the way. Listen, I like the bangers too. I like the guys who come out smoking. Joe Frazier was my favorite all-time fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 different fighters there. So I love the guys who are action. But when you give me class the way Lomachenko gives us class, he's not going to be around that much longer. He's 16-2. He's in his early to, I think, mid-30s now. And I'm not even sure he's going to get much past. He's got 18 fights. I'm not sure he's ever going to get to 25 fights. And that's saying a lot. And he will be inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. As a matter of fact, even if he stopped right now, I do think he'd be inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
All right, Randy. Well, and also the Queen herself has says hello.
Who's
the Queen?
this?
The Queen herself.
Ah, the Queen.
The Queen, Ronnie. She is saying hello and good evening to us.
Well, you know, she's not in a good mood. She's watching this, and she's watching the Met game, and the last you gave me the score was 3-0.
Well, let's take a look again. Let's get a quick update. It is so far. It is still Cubs up by 3. Sorry
unbelievable, because you know we had number 1 on the mound tonight, and this is the first time this year that Jake DeGrom, he hasn't had his great breaking ball, because usually he mixes in the great breaking ball with a 101 mile an hour fastball and pinpoint control. And tonight he started that first inning the way he did the other day, and it looked like he was struggling. Then I got in the car and I drove here to Studio M, and yeah.
Sorry, had to give a shout out.
Who else?
Anyway, we've got Jeff Tavel. Good evening, Jeff. We got Ron Lipton, Noah Fendlison. Noah,
okay.
John Barbella, and Steve Schroeder. And hello, Farley. Farley always likes to give me a shout out, so I want to give him a shout out. Good evening, Farley, and good evening, everybody. And thank you for joining us tonight. Canelo, Triple G. What's going on this weekend, Randy?
Well, that's the one we're all going to be talking about. And if you can, tune in to me and Jerry Cooney on Sirius XM's At the Fights on Friday. We're on from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time on channel 156, because we have a very special guest coming on with us. And her name is Sinisa Estrada. She's going to be on in the 1 o'clock to 1:15 block with us. She's going to be, I think she's going to the Canelo fight.
Now, if you want to talk about, you're talking about Lomachenko as an amazing fighter.
Yeah.
I honestly love watching Sinisa Estrada fight. Not just because she is an incredibly gorgeous woman, but she is an incredible fighter. I love watching her fight. I mean, seriously, she's incredible in the ring.
Well, she really is. She's 22-0 with only 9 knockouts. But I think you're going to see, I don't even think you've seen the best of her. Now, look, she has a 7-second knockout over a young lady who came in at 5-0. But I think as you looked under the surface of the 5-0,
that woman was not. I've seen that so many times. That woman should never have been nowhere near that ring with Sinisa Estrada. She should have never been near there.
The thing is, Sinisa Estrada doesn't need to fight anybody like that. And she didn't even know that this young lady was that devoid of talent, because she has been in there with the champ at 112 pounds, Marlon Esparza, and beat her handily. And the fact is, Sinisa Estrada is a lot smaller, and anytime she even mentions or hints around, or somebody should hint around to Marlon Esparza, how about maybe you making a defense against Sinisa? You're bigger than she is. Remember, at those lower weights, every pound really means a lot. And Sinisa Estrada weighs about 104, 105, 106. She'd have to go up 6 more pounds to face Marlon Esparza again, who has arguably gotten better. I think that Sinisa destroys her. I think she should, quite frankly, make a move to 108, grab those titles. Go to 112, grab the titles. Move right up to 115 and take on the champions that are there. I think Sinisa Estrada is a very special fighter, and I think that she's so good that I see her winning at 115 also, and let her make a move to 118. I think she could even take titles up at 118. And believe me, that 14-pound jump is a long way from 104 pounds. She's a little lady who can fight and punch. An absolute superstar, not even in the making, but she's going to be fighting on the ESPN platform, signed with Top Rank, broke with Golden Boy, and Golden Boy did her no favors whatsoever, but then he's not doing anybody. He's got, you know what, Oscar De La Hoya has Jaime Munguia, who's 40-0, middleweight, former junior middleweight champion, now 40-0, and just kind of wasting away because he's already lost Canelo Alvarez. He's got Ryan Garcia, who he's always fighting with, and I think that Ryan Garcia would do himself so much better if he was with any other promoter, but, you know, that's for him to decide. But I just think that Golden Boy didn't do her any favors, and Sinisa Estrada, with her incredible co-manager, Gary Gittleson, who's a top attorney, was able to free her from that contract of Golden Boy, and now you're going to see a big end-of-the-year victory for Sinisa Estrada, and I think some real superstardom ahead in 2023. So she's going to be joining me on SiriusXM this Friday.
That's great. I just wanted to give you some background information just for everybody. So the woman that she scored that 7-second knockdown was named Miranda Adkins.
Right.
And she was 42 years old with a record of 6-0. And then obviously became 6-1, but she was 42 years old. So in 42 years old, 6 fights.
Well, you know, in Sinisa's defense, she's the fighter. She let her promoter do the work. They pick the opponent. She climbs in the ring. And she was very proud of the fact, and even though Miranda Atkins...
Well, she was just doing her job. Nobody's throwing blame on her. She's the boxer. She gets in there that she's paid to fight. That's what she does. But whoever put this woman in the ring with her should have never done it.
And if you want to check Sinisa out on Instagram, she puts up very classy pictures on Instagram. It's, I believe, Sinisa _ super bad. And she has just a look about her, and she puts up videos of herself in the gym, and you could watch her on YouTube as well. I just think she, along with, and I mean, a couple of years ago, we weren't talking about the females like this. Female fighters were not recognized, and it's been, I knew back in my days at Ring Magazine and at the New York State Athletic Commission that females would one day, and I've said this before here. It was in 1995. I said to former chairman of the New York State Athletic Commission, the guy that I replaced, former light heavyweight champion Jose Torres. He said, "You can't be licensing female fighters in New York." And I said, "Why not, Jose?" He said, they don't belong in the ring. Now, can you imagine him saying that today? And I said, why not? And he said, they don't. He even said some pretty off-color things. And I said, Jose, you're so wrong. And I said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you something, Jose. One day, 2 females are going to main event at Madison Square Garden. Now, I didn't think it would take so long. I said that in 1995, and it wasn't until this year that Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano did get it on in a main event in front of a packed crowd at Madison Square Garden. But when I said that to Jose, he said, do not ever say that out loud. You will be laughed out of the boxing business. Well, I've said it out loud. I said it then, and I continued saying it. And the night that Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor crossed gloves, I was like a proud papa that night watching the two of them. And now you've got Katie Taylor, you've got Claressa Shields, you've got Amanda Serrano. You've got Sinisa Estrada, who arguably is in the top 4. You got Jessica McCaskill. You got Michaela Mayer. You got Savannah Marshall. You got Alicia Baumgartner. On and on. The females are out there. And I got to tell you, they are pouring out of the woodwork now. They're jumping into the gyms because they realize that female boxing is now accepted. And with open arms, boxing fans, thank you so much for allowing those female fighters to come in.
Quick question for you. Do you think MMA had anything to do with that? Do you think
Yes.
the MMA explosion of female MMA fighters had anything that, like, the Rouseys, the Chris Cyborgs, had something to do with kind of bringing attention more to female combat sports?
Yes. I think that Ronda Rousey had a lot to do with it because I think a lot of young girls were idolizing her. And I think I even knew of a few who tried their hand at mixed martial arts and found that they were much better at moving and boxing and punching than they were at kicking and choking and taking a person down and doing what you had to do on the ground. So they stuck to boxing. And I think that's why we're going to be seeing a lot more female talent. I'm talking about world-class talent, way up there kind of talent. And speaking about Cyborg, she has made the announcement that she is putting on boxing gloves as well. I cannot wait until Chris Cyborg makes her professional debut, because I think, and I'm not sure what weight she's going to be boxing at. I think it's around 130, 35 pounds. I wonder if she's going to come right out of the gate and call for the lightweight champion, Katie Taylor. So I can't wait for Chris Cyborg.
How do you rank somebody like that? I mean, she hasn't boxed professionally, but she has had a almost legendary career in MMA. So how do they rank somebody like that?
Well, because I think what happens, because there's not a lot of women who are in that world class. It's not like you've got hundreds and hundreds at that world class ability. Once she makes her pro debut, and if she looks decent enough, let's say she weighs 130 pounds. One of the sanctioning bodies, and there are too many sanctioning bodies, and that's for another show, one of them or two of them will put her in their top 10 in her respective weight class in their ratings. And then once she makes it into the top 10, then of course, because if she's such a star, she's going to get her title shot very, very early in her career, whether she's ready for it or not. And I do think because of her skill set and how many fights she's had in MMA, she knows what to do. So we can't wait.
All right. Sounds good.
Anybody else joining us?
Looks like we've got just the usual suspects tonight.
Okay.
Everybody's kind of just watching. You always schedule these things when there's a ball game going on.
Well, tonight, see, I know that Queen Ronnie was watching, and I know a lot of Met fans were watching, but I bet you they're going to be a little bit frustrated, like I am right now. I don't even want to think about it. And football
Well, it's the
season.
Yankees Red Sox tonight, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is.
So
And,
that's a big one.
and I do believe, I don't know, there's no football games tonight, but this is time of year when football season crosses over with baseball. And, I remember right about the first week, second week of October, the World Series used to be over. And then I'd get into football, and I was in growing up, a New York Giant fan, still am. And congratulations to all Giant fans, because we won yesterday, and the Jets were the Jets. But now, the baseball season, by the time the World Series, the last out of the World Series is made, the football season is about halfway done. Because baseball season ends, the World Series ends somewhere around the closing days of October. It's already cold in New York at that point. So tomorrow, we're going to start breaking down the Canelo Triple G fight. We're going to start with Triple G. So I'll be back here with you guys tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Also getting my golden locks cut, whatever is left there. And I don't know if any of you guys noticed. I'm surprised none of you said anything. This might be the first time that I'm doing this show without a hat.
I was going to mention that. I didn't want to say anything. I figured there was some reason, some deep existential reason you weren't wearing your hat tonight.
No, we just didn't. I guess, I was so upset when I came on, seeing that dumb remark by, I'm not even going to mention his name again.
What was his name again?
I don't even know what his name is.
Thomas Negrily.
See, they know. That's a great, great sound. I love it. God, I love that sound. They know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And to all of you, there's nothing but cheers for joining us here tonight on another edition of Randy's Ringside. Yeah, baby. So for me and my lollipop and my coffee mug and Marcello, the voice.
Always a pleasure, Randy.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be safe.